Have you ever ordered a cymbal that sounded good in a demo, but the one you purchased sounded bad? Or have you tried replacing an old cymbal only to find the new one doesn't have the same magic? Differences in the weight of the cymbal have a big impact on the sound. Other things like the lathing of the cymbal in turn also impact the weight. The first obvious difference you hear due to weight is changes in the pitch. Now, weight is not the only contributing factor when it comes to pitch, but it does have a big impact. Let's start off by comparing these two crashes. These are the K dark thin and medium thin lines. Now there's a significant pitch difference between them, and that's due to a 200-gram weight difference. These were both made in 2024, so other build aspects should be pretty similar between them. The reason we're starting with two cymbals that are of the same type but different weight classes is that I want to really over-exaggerate what all those different sonic characteristics are, so that later on when you're dealing with two cymbals that are of the same weight class, you can be really focused on what it is that you need to listen to. When demoing these cymbals, the pitch difference is pretty obvious, but that may not be the sole reason why you like one or dislike the other. In fact, it may not be the most contributing factor at all. A thinner cymbal has a longer attack time compared to a thicker one. That means that if you hit it hard, how long does it take between the strike and when it peaks in volume? Speaking of volume, a thicker cymbal will typically be a little bit louder and have a little bit longer sustain. On the other hand, a thinner cymbal opens up more easily, so you don't have to hit it as hard to get the volume going. That said, it is a lot easier to overpower a thinner cymbal, meaning that if you're hitting it really hard, it becomes easy to get a really washy sound out of it, which some people like, but heavy hitters usually not so much. Something else to consider is the sticking sound. On the thinner, it'll be a little bit softer or duller. On the thicker, it'll be a little bit harder or more aggressive. Okay, so that's all well and good, but what about two cymbals that are supposed to be of the same weight? How much of a difference is there? Well, depending on if they were made by the same person or in the same batch or even in the same decade, there could be all sorts of differences. Let's take a look at these two crashes next. These are both K dark thins, both 14 inches. Zildjian doesn't make these in 14-inch sizes anymore, so I only take these out for special occasion. You can see the lathing on them is actually quite different, even though they're only made 1 year apart in 2000 and 2001. The weight difference between the two is only about 20 grams, so that should impact things a lot less than what we heard last time, though the lathing differences will impact things as well. Really try to pay attention to all the things we talked about earlier when you're hearing these sound samples. Let's take a look at these two next. These are the 14-inch Trashformers. They're considered to be effect cymbals. As you can see, there's these severe bends in the crashes, and that's going to have some sort of impact on the sound depending on how bent they are. Luckily though, there's only a 3-gram weight difference between the two, so weight should have a fairly minimal impact. They're also made in the same year, 2016, and are one serial number apart, so the lathing should be as close as you can get it. Okay, we've heard a bunch of crashes. How about we try a ride? These are the recently discontinued A-series rock rides. There's only a 10-gram weight difference between them, which percentage-wise is not that big of a deal. The right one was made in 1996. The left one I think is a little bit older, but I'm not sure of the year. That older one has also been cleaned a lot, though I have not cleaned it recently. So if you want a more consistent sound from cymbal to cymbal, though not perfectly consistent, then you do need to pay attention to weight. There are some specialty drum shops out there that list weight on some of the cymbals they sell, not to mention on the used market. If you live near a drum shop where you can actually hear something in person and you can't bring your gram scale with you, then bring your cymbal with you. Even if they won't let you bring it in the shop, you can play it a couple times in the car before you go in the store. That'll help you notice any sort of differences. The key is that if there are big pitch differences between them, likely all of the other aspects we talked about will also be quite different. Also note that cymbals have been generally getting thinner over the last decade or so. If you have an old cymbal and all the new ones you've been trying to demo just don't quite sound right, it could be that all the new ones are just significantly thinner than the old. In this case, is another good opportunity to try to go to the used market. Sometimes even if the cymbal on the used market doesn't list the weight, sometimes they do list the year. And there's a good chance that cymbals made in the same year are a lot closer in weight compared to an old one and a brand new one. Now, while you can't easily change the weight of your cymbals, there is something you can do that has a big impact on how many overtones you get. And that's whether or not you've cleaned your cymbals. And you can hear some dirty versus clean cymbal sound samples right over here or in the description below. Until next time, peace.